Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Exponential DFS podcast. Once again, my name is Michael and I go by that guy Expo, and I'm joined again by Corey, or Legion of Boom 258, I believe is your DraftKings name.
Yeah, you got it.
So we're going to be doing another slate breakdown today for the Monday, June 13th slate. We are going to jump right into it. So today is a 10-game slate. I have to actually pull my spreadsheet back up. So if you want to kind of talk about the slate a little bit, Corey, on what's going on today, it's a little bit more, I would say, simple than the slate we broke down on Friday since there's fewer games and no cores. But if you want to kind of go and do an overview of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, well, obviously this slate I would say is not as good as yesterday or the Friday slate we did. It's pretty straightforward slate. I'm not really wild about it today. There's not, especially on DraftKings where you need two pitchers and there's only really one good pitcher going tonight, and he's in a pretty tough matchup as we'll talk about.
Yep.
And there's some hitters. We have no core, so that makes it a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about getting cores in.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's an all right slate overall. I wouldn't say it's a great slate, but it's decent.
Yeah, I feel like for a 10-game slate, it's kind of a weaker 10-game slate.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to be excited about. There's definitely some spots that you could take advantage of for hitters. But like you said, the pitching is kind of weak tonight outside of just a couple options. So we'll jump right into, if you missed the Friday show, if this is your first time watching us, we're going to break down kind of position by position. We'll talk about each game, but we'll more go position by position and break down just kind of in the order that DraftKings has them in the bar at the top when you're building your lineup to make it as simple as possible. So we'll start out with pitchers. So like Corey said, I think if you're on FanDuel tonight, even on FanDuel, it can be a little tough tonight, I think, rostering the one pitcher, just because, like you said, we obviously have Scherzer tonight against the Cubs. But over on FanDuel, where the win is so important, that could be somewhat of an issue when you're thinking about the win with Scherzer against the Cubs. But I think you kind of, unless you want to roster Greinke, I think you got to go Scherzer on FanDuel. I'm not sure what the price difference is over there because as we talked about, I mainly play DraftKings. You do too, but you pay attention to FanDuel more than I do. What's the price difference between those two today over there?
Let me check real quick.
Because I know in DraftKings, Scherzer's 12,200 and Greinke's 11,200. So if it's 1,000 difference on FanDuel, I mean, it would be an interesting discussion on who you want to roster over there. Because I think, honestly, those are the only two guys on FanDuel that I would consider.
Okay. Scherzer's 11-3 and Greinke's 10-5. So
okay, so not quite the big difference there.
Yeah.
It's still 800 compared to 1,000, but it's definitely an interesting discussion to have on Greinke or Scherzer tonight. I want to hear your take on it. I think for me, when you look at the upside alone, I think Scherzer definitely has a lot more upside, a much higher ceiling given his K percentage. And given the Cubs are starting to strike out a little bit more than they have been all year, they're up near 24% K rate the last 30 days, and it's been right around 22% all year against righties. So definitely it's getting up there a little bit more what we saw last year for the Cubs. Not quite at that level, but it's starting to rise, and I think Scherzer's a guy that definitely can take advantage of that. What's your take on Scherzer today?
Well, like you said with the Cubs lineup, the Cubs have a lot of young players in their lineup. I mean, they're a very talented young team outside of, Zobrist and Hayward. And Hayward's even pretty young himself, but they're pretty young, so obviously they're going to strike out at some point. And like you said, Scherzer's got by far the highest K percentage on the slate, and he's got more upside. And what makes him probably even a better play is he could go lower owned than he probably should. I could see it happening today because people could get scared off the matchup and maybe sway towards Greinke, so you could get a little bit of lower ownership, so it does make them pretty appealing today.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, when you look at the Cubs lineup and kind of break down guy by guy, I mean, their projected lineup, that when I looked at it, there was nothing out of the ordinary in this game. It's Fowler, Hayward, Chris Bryant, Rizzo, Zobrist, Coughlin, Montero, Russell. I mean, you look at that 6 through 9, that's not overly scary. I mean, I'm not scared of Coughlin, Montero, Russell, or the pitcher spot doing anything.
Yeah.
It would be the top of the lineup, I think, more with Fowler, Hayward, and Rizzo. I
Yeah.
mean, Bryant, could he do some damage? Sure. But when Scherzer has problems, it's definitely against lefties. I mean, he's still giving up a 382 WOBA to lefties this year, which is not a great number to see when you're going to pay 12,000 for a guy on DraftKings and that price on FanDuel. Plus, he's been giving up home runs this year. I mean, he has a 0.74 ground ball to fly ball rate, so he's giving up a lot of fly balls. I didn't see what the weather was looking like in Wrigley, but definitely if for whatever reason the wind is blowing out to center in Wrigley like it can at times, that could be something that if you're on a one-pitcher site, definitely could scare you off of him. I think on DraftKings, you're not forced to roster him today, but I think at 12-2 for his upside, that's definitely an appealing price that I could swallow. And even if he doesn't do as well as he can do, I don't think it's going to kill you at 12-2 compared to if he were 14K. Um, he doesn't have to, I think, get you 36 points today. I think even if he gets you 28, I think you'd be okay with that today on this because there's not a lot of pitchers that you can say definitely he has a 20 to 25 point floor. No, there's really not. I think him and Greinke are the safer plays if you're talking about upside with floor. But definitely, I think Scherzer's almost a lock and load on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I think is where the discussion becomes more difficult. So who is your number two today? So I think we both kind of agree Scherzer's our number one on DraftKings and kind of 1A on FanDuel. Who do you think is your number two?
Okay, so just one quick thing. The game's actually in Washington. It's not in Chicago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Missed that. Yeah, it's in Washington. So definitely not a concern there. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's less of a concern, him being in Washington.
Yeah, for number two, that's where I'm kind of having the trouble because I mean, I like Kyle Kendricks, but it'd kind of be weird to pair him with Scherzer. I mean, both the teams don't really have, high totals, but, you just don't really see that. It's kind of a weird thing.
It's definitely something you can do on DraftKings. I mean, it's not a bad thing. The win's not that important, but yeah, I agree with you today. It's interesting. I mean, it's definitely an option. I would.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play Greinke, then I would definitely say probably pair him with Hendricks. If I'm going to play Scherzer, which I probably will, yeah, finding that second pitcher is tough. I mean, I've looked at Chen and, Chase Henderson or Anderson. Those are kind of the two that I've been looking at right now.
Okay, so that's interesting. I mean, I definitely the one issue that I would say, I mean, there's a couple issues, but the main issue I have with Hendricks, again, this is most likely going to be a close game, right? It's only a 7 over under right now, and I don't expect that to rise at all because Washington hasn't really been hitting the ball all that great this year. They've done okay.
But they've been up and down.
Hendricks hasn't pitched poorly at all. He's pitched very well. The issue I have, if you look at box scores and also you take into consideration, again, Joe Madden, the way he manages, is it very possible that he gets pulled in the sixth inning with 83 pitches? Yeah, it is. If he gets up, in the pitcher spot, gets up with runners on against Scherzer, I see him getting pulled, and that's a problem for me. When he's 9-4, do I think he has a 27-point ceiling? I really don't. I really don't see him getting to 27 today. I mean, could he strike out some hitters? Sure, but like when you look at Chicago and Washington, so they're kind of going opposite ways with their K percentages. Washington has a 20.2% K rate the whole year against righties, and they're under 19% the last 30 days. Chicago's going the opposite way. I don't see him reaching anywhere near 27. Could he get to 20? Could he get to 18? Sure. I don't see him getting out of this game without giving up like 2 earned. I don't see him worth it today at 94. And I probably plan on playing Scherzer anyway, like we talked about. And I don't love rostering 2 pitchers from the same game. I don't hate it, depending on the spot. But I think when they're that expensive, both of them, it's a little more scary. because
Yeah,
you sit there rooting for the game to not score any runs. Which
yeah, and then plus you said with the risk of him getting pulled, you don't want to pay 9-4, and you're thinking, oh well, is my guy even going to go to 6 innings? Joe Madden's just
right.
notorious for that. I mean, the one time he let him pitch all the way was against Philly. I mean, he pitches well when Joe Madden does, but the problem is Joe Madden just doesn't like to let him pitch for some odd reason.
And here's the other thing about him that I don't know if you pulled up in your research or not. He is really not good on the road this year.
I
Really
noticed that.
not good on the road. And even like against, I think it was at Philly, he just did not pitch that well. I mean, again, like we talked about, close games he hasn't done. Close games he gets pulled quite often by Madden, and also the fact that they're in Washington, like you mentioned, the fact that he just hasn't pitched well. Like his splits this year, he's been great at home. He has under a 2 ERA at home. He's averaging like 22 and a half DraftKings points a game. On the road, he's had just as many. He's had 5 starts on the road, 6 starts at home. His 5 starts on the road, his ERA is over 4, and he only has 11.1 DraftKings points per game. And it's not like his opponents on the road have been that, I mean, great. I mean, at Philly, he got 15.7. San Francisco on the road was a tough start. Milwaukee on the road can be tough, but not an overly difficult start. And St. Louis on the road. So, yeah, there were some tough starts in there, but, I mean, that's a huge swing for split. So, definitely those two things I think really make me not want to roster him today just for that. So, I think my number 2, it's tough to decide today, like you said. There's not a lot of great number 2s. I might end up just rolling out Scherzer and Greinke and just saying, please, just both of you get me enough upside where I'm feeling fine, where I can roster some cheaper bats, because I don't trust Carrasco against Kansas City whatsoever. This is not the spot that we had like a week and a half ago when we had Salazar against Kansas City. It is not the same. Carrasco's K percentage is not nearly as high. The total, I mean, 8 is not that scary, but I will not roster Carrasco against Kansas City. I will not do it, especially when he's 10,008. I will not do it. So Chen, like you mentioned, against San Diego, is that an overly scary spot? Not really. But when you look at San Diego, they really do hit lefties so much better. I mean, they're really actually, I think, in the top 10 for hitting lefties this year in WOBA and WRC+. Their ISO is decently high, 168. They will strike out, but Chen is not necessarily known for striking a ton of guys out himself. I mean, the game is in San Diego, so that will probably limit runs, but I don't know if I can pull the trigger on Chen at even 8K. I don't know. It's definitely a tough spot. I think the most interesting play today, I don't think I'm going to have, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it in cash, but we'll see. Matt Cain, to me, is relatively interesting, just given his price. I mean, this is a guy that he used to be a top 2 pitcher on the staff, and I mean, they brought in Cueto, they have Bumgarner, obviously. So if Cain can turn it up and start pitching well, this staff for San Francisco is gonna be pretty scary. But 6,500, what does he have to get you? 18 to 20 for you to be really happy with him? I mean, is that possible against Milwaukee? Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee strikes out a ton. Cain hasn't struck out a lot of guys this year, but he's coming off. The only thing that's concerning, he's coming off of being hurt. I mean, he came out of his last start, so that's kind of the scary part. Is he going to be on a pitch count? I don't know. I guess he pitched a simulated game and he did fine, but it's definitely interesting because his 3 starts before he left the Colorado start: Toronto 24.4, at Arizona 18.4, Chicago at home 20.7. So he's pitching well, and before he got hurt in Colorado. So I mean, he was pitching very poorly before then. But it's definitely looking up for him. And 6,500, could he get you -5? Yeah. But could he get you 18 to 20 on the slate? Sure. So that's kind of the tough spot that I think we have. So any other guys you have interest in? So you mentioned Chase Anderson. So what stood out to you about Chase Anderson today?
Really, honestly, not that much. It's just that they're playing at San Francisco, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Yeah, San Francisco, they just haven't been, hitting as well as they should be.
Yeah,
Which,
that's true.
Hunter Pence isn't in the lineup. I mean, nothing really. It was just another play. He's not expensive. He doesn't need to do you a lot. Just, he's just an average pitcher. Just something I threw in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Just to
hate
look
it.
at other people.
I mean, the only problem I have with it being it's not like he's six something. He's seven,
Yeah.
almost 8K, and he gives up a lot of home runs, gives up a lot of fly balls. I mean, he's giving up more fly balls than ground balls this year. He's giving up, I think, over 2 home runs per 9 to righties, and it's just it's a great ballpark. Don't get me wrong. It's just to me, it's scary because San Francisco, even though they don't hit the ball, they don't strike out.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any upside for him to get close to 24. I would feel better rostering Matt Cain against Milwaukee than I would Chase Anderson against the Giants. That's just me. I think the swing. Anderson has a better floor for sure, but I think when you're paying almost 8K, it's definitely risky for him. But yeah, like we talked about, there's not a lot to love for pitching today. I mean, even the top options, you're like, well, Scherzer's against the Cubs and Greinke's in Arizona where he hasn't pitched well at all. I mean, his splits are just awful this year. I mean, you look at, he's pitched very well on the road. I mean, 28 points per game, like 28 DraftKings points per game on the road in 5 starts, and 8 starts at home. He has an ERA over 5, and he has 11.5 DraftKings points per game. Granted, he's pitching better. I mean, he's pitching a lot better lately. I mean, the last 4 starts, he's been over 30 fantasy points in the 3 out of his last 4 starts, and the 1 start he didn't was concerning. I mean, he was at home against San Diego. So, yeah, I think I might just have to play him given his matchup against the Dodgers, who aren't hitting the ball that great. Granted, it's in Arizona, which is concerning to me, but I might just have to go Scherzer and Greinke just for the floor and ceiling factors, and let someone roster in a head-to-head or 50-50 against me, one of these other guys that you mentioned that could be okay, but they could get shelled. I mean, it's the truth. Chen, fly ball pitcher, could give up a couple home runs. Matt Cain could go negative against Milwaukee easily. Hendricks could go 5 innings with 80 pitches, and that's it. Chase Anderson could get you 12. I mean, Carrasco might get 15. It's interesting. I mean, he could get 15 to 20, and it's not awful, but for almost 11K, it's not worth it. So definitely an interesting pitching slate. It's tough decisions for sure. All right, so moving on to catcher. So I don't know what you found in catching, but I think today is actually probably the best catching slate to me that we've had all year. I like quite a few catchers today. I think the prices are pretty fair. I think the spots are great. There's a lot of catchers hitting 6 today that I do like. Who are some of your top options today at catcher?
Chris Herman's probably one of my favorite options. If he gets into the lineup, I don't know exactly what they're going to do.
He's projected to be in. I don't know if they'll play him, but he's projected to be in.
He's a really good hitter. I mean, I gotta get his stats up real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, and he's projected to hit 6. He's 4K, which is the only thing I think that is scary. I don't like paying that much for it.
Yeah, he's got a 376 WOBA against right-handed
and 282 ISO. Yeah,
he can. I mean,
he can hit the ball out of the ballpark in Arizona for sure.
Yeah, and then there's if Wellington's in instead, you got him a little bit cheaper. As on Friday we just saw him at 3,700, but he's been.
What is Wellington today? I
33.
Didn't really look at it. Oh, he's 33. So I would be definitely interested in Wellington if he's in the lineup today. I expect it to be Herman because of the lefty on righty matchup, but it's definitely interesting because the one thing I would say about Herman against Bolsinger has done a lot worse to righties this year.
Yeah.
It's been worse against righties, which is interesting. And like you said, though, Herman's destroyed right-handed pitching this year when he's been in the lineup. He's hit home runs. He's hit for power for sure. I just don't know if I can pull the trigger at 4K. Now, if Wellington's in the lineup hitting 5th or cleanup against Bolsinger in Arizona, that might be the play to me. Wellington's obviously better versus lefties, a lot more power versus lefties, but I mean, you thought he was going to be under-owned on Friday, and I would say he was, and he ended up putting up 7 fantasy points. So not a bad day from your catcher when he was 37. I mean, not a great day, but he didn't get you a 0. He did fine. Is he a guy that could get you a 0? Sure, he could strike out, but definitely an interesting play at 33 if he's in the lineup. Herman, I do like at 4.
Yeah.
I don't mind him at all. What are some other guys? So you were the kind of the Russell Martin whisperer on Friday.
Yeah, it
Do you
kind of
like him
snuck back
again
in.
today?
Yeah, I mean, just because you know how catchers, it's usually a weak position. Yeah, he did sneak back into my research, and I actually don't hate him today just because he is cheap still again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that I like him, but I mean, I guess I got lucky on Friday. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad play today.
yeah. I
He
mean,
could do
definitely on
worse.
Friday. I mean, he definitely did better than our plays. I mean, Suzuki didn't do. I ended up playing Suzuki in cash. I mean, he didn't do really anything. I think he had a single for 3 points, but for min salary, I was fine with it. Given I think the research showed he was a fine play. The only thing was hitting eighth. That obviously didn't work out great because he only got like 3 at bats. But definitely, I like Russell Martin a ton today. I
Yeah,
really do. The reason why is again, he's projected to hit 6, which is not a bad lineup spot for 2,900 at all. He's starting to hit the ball better lately, and the Blue Jays have the highest team total in the entire slate. They have a 5 team total, which is interesting to me because Ekhoff hasn't pitched bad this year at all. And he's been decently tough on righties. That's the only thing that kind of scares me off some of these Toronto bats, but not enough to say I'm not going to roster Toronto righties against them. I mean,
yeah,
I believe they're in Toronto, which is just, I mean, they can hit the ball in Toronto for sure. Uh, I like Russell Martin a lot today. I think
yeah,
to me, I really like Russell Martin a lot, and I don't mind Cameron Rupp at all either.
yeah,
Again, power upside against the knuckleballer hitting 6. He's actually on the away team, so he might get an extra at bat, hopefully. He actually has a better ISO, better WOBA against right-handed pitching than he does against lefties. And I mean, R.A. Dickey, you never know what to expect with the knuckleball. He's pitching to contact with it. I mean, he doesn't strike anyone out to knuckleball. So definitely an interesting play there. Who else do you have?
Well, just one more thing about like Russell Martin too. If you want to pair Scherzer and Greinke in cash, like you were talking about, you'll have about 3,300 a hitter. So Russell Martin kind of falls in the average, and it'll kind of help you spend up a little bit elsewhere because he's a little bit cheaper.
Definitely, and that definitely makes it harder, I think, to justify paying 4K for Herman if you're pairing Scherzer and Greinke and only getting around 3,300 a hitter. Because I think if you told me I could have Cameron Rupp at 26 or Russell Martin at 29, I think Rupp, granted he's not in Arizona, but Rupp definitely has home run upside just like Herman does. And like we
Yeah.
talked about, Bolsinger kind of has reverse splits this year, and Rupp definitely has reverse splits for his hitting. So definitely an interesting play there. Who else do you like? Because I think there's quite a few catchers I'm considering for cash.
I mean, Russell Martin was about as cheap as I went down. I mean, I like back up top. I don't mind Posey, and I don't hate Lucroy, but like we're kind of talking about, if I'm gonna spend that much, I think I'd rather just go with Herman because of his ballpark. Because you know, everybody's Arizona, it scores light. He'll have a good chance to hit a home run, and then if I'm spending down, it's probably just gonna be Russell Martin. I think.
Yeah, I think Posey makes a great tournament play today. I don't think for cash I'll be able to get to him because of the pitching. I mean, I think I'm going to end up having to pay up. So definitely Posey, I think, makes a great tournament play. I think he has a ton of upside against Chase Anderson. Gives up over 2 home runs and 9 to righties. He has a 39% hard hit rate to righties. Definitely, I think it's a great tournament play. I don't think for cash it's easy to get there. So if you can't get to Posey, I would almost rather roster Posey than Herman in cash if I could get up to 4K. That's just me. Given the matchup, I just, even though it's righty on righty for Posey and it's lefty on righty for Herman, I think given the consistency and I think upside is there for Posey too. But I don't think I'll be able to get to either of them in cash.
Probably
Um,
not. Yeah.
I like Fagley. I
Yeah.
mean, he has a lot of upside against left-handed pitching. He's facing a guy that gives up over 1.5 home runs to 9 to right-handed hitters. I think Bagley makes a nice play. He's also pretty expensive, though, at 36. Derek Norris, I don't hate it. He's against the lefty. Whenever he's against the lefty, I look at him. I think his price has gotten to a point, though, that it doesn't reflect kind of the matchup. I don't think Chen's an awful pitcher. It's in San Diego, so I don't think Norris is that great of a play given his price. But given his history against lefties, it's not off. And I think Sal Perez is the only other guy I have that at 3K, I don't hate it. Definitely, it's righty on righty for him too, I believe. So it's not, yeah, I mean, he's facing Carrasco, so it's not not a great matchup. I just think Carrasco's not been dominant this year. He's getting hit, so more of a tournament play. So I think Sal Perez, Herman, Posey, I think, and Fagley, I think those are more of your tournament type play, as I honestly think Rupp and Russell Martin are kind of your cash game catchers to me. I think just given the salary. Unless, of course, you're not paying up for two pitchers like Greinke and Scherzer, then you could get up probably to one of those catchers like Posey or Herman or Fagley. So definitely, I think if I had to guess the chalk, again, I think it's going to be kind of spread out. I think Russell Martin might be the chalk, though, given their team total and given that he's starting to hit the ball a lot better. So, all right, so moving on to first base. So go ahead and kind of give an overview on first base here on who you like.
I actually like first base a lot tonight. I mean, there's a lot of different options, as usually it always is. I mean, up top, you got Goldie. You know, if you go down a couple, dollars, you got E5. You got Joey Votto, who's probably one of my favorite first basemen. I just don't know the way, I haven't played around with the lineups, but I don't know if I'll be able to get there. I do like him a lot, though.
Okay.
And then even down a little bit further, you got Jose Abreu. He's pretty cheap.
Yeah, he's pretty cheap against the lefty. Boyd's not
hit him well, but,
overly. I mean, he doesn't scare me at all. He's giving up like almost a 33% hard hit rate to righties. The only thing I would say about Votto, he's 4,500, correct? On DraftKings? Yeah. Okay, so the only issue I have with Votto is just, given who's around him and price, I would rather have Edwin at the same price. I'd rather have Miggy at 43. I'd rather have Abreu at 4K. I think I like Votto. I don't hate the play, but I think given how poorly he's hit this year outside of Coors, I think I would rather have any of those three guys I just mentioned before him, given salary.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, I think Votto, or the Reds as a whole, I think they're going up against probably one of the worst pitchers. I mean, if you just look at his numbers, I got to compare his. I mean, he's got a 402 WOBA to lefties.
He does.
And he's got a, where's the righty output?
362.
Yeah, I mean, he's
not good. I just think, as a whole, the Cincinnati hitters are kind of overpriced.
Yeah, they are a little bit.
But I just think given who's in their lineup and where they're hitting in the lineup, I just think they're relatively overall overpriced. And Cincinnati's not a great team. So it's hard for me to justify paying those salaries for some of those hitters today. Even Votto, I think, the only issue I have with Votto is when I roster first baseman, I want to think he has 1 to 2 home runs upside today. And I don't think Votto is that. I really don't. He hasn't been that all year. I mean, how many home runs does he have on the entire season?
11.
11. Okay, so not bad. But you have to consider, I think he had 2 to 3 of those in Coors recently. Right? So he's doing better, right? He's starting to hit the ball better, but to me it's hard to justify. I mean, he's hitting the ball better. That's good. He is. I don't deny that, but I think I would rather play Edwin, who's on an absolute tear, for the same price at home with the highest team total on the entire slate. And I think even Justin Smoke is not an awful cash play today. I mean, he's
not bad.
He's projected to hit 5th, again, for the highest team total team on the slate against a guy that is worse against lefties. I mean, Eckhoff is tougher on righties, worse against lefties. So it's not a bad play to me. I mean, he's giving up a 338 WOBA to lefties, 398 xFIP. So definitely I think Smoke's in play in cash because, like you said, if we have 3,300 a hitter, if we're rostering Greinke and Scherzer, I mean, Smoke's only 3,100. I think it's pretty tough to me to fade Edwin. I think it is.
I think Miggy and Votto are going to be better GPPs because even though you're like, I'd rather play Miggy over Votto, if you're going to pay 43 for first baseman, why just not get the 200 and get the better first baseman? So
Yeah, I mean, I think
Miggy's not even hitting that well either this year. I mean, Miggy's hitting about as poo-poo as Votto is, unfortunately. He hasn't been as good this year either. So, I mean, I'd rather just get the 200 and get the better hitter at first.
Yeah, I definitely can see it. I took into consideration Miggy has hit righties a lot better than lefties this year, and Shields gives up a ton of home runs. I mean, he's coming off 2 games just absolutely getting destroyed. I mean, it's his first start for the White Sox, so we'll see if he's any better.
Second, he got booed out of his first start. They booed him on his first start. He got booed out of the stadium.
Excuse me. Okay, so second start for the White Sox, and okay. I was confused looking at his game logs. He gave up 7 earned in 2 innings, so not good. And I think this Detroit lineup's a lineup that could get to him pretty quick too. So I think Jose Abreu is underpriced for sure. I mean, 4K against the lefties, hitting the ball a lot better. He's a guy that gets consistent. He's a consistent floor type play. He only has 8 home runs on the year, but I mean, you look at his game logs, he gets points other ways. I mean, he definitely is in play for me in cash. Boyd doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
Like you said, Goldie is a great play too. I just don't think it can get to
there.
5K today.
Like you said though with Votto too, he also doesn't have probably the elite upside. He could be a decent cash game player because Votto is known to take a walk when they're going to give it to him. Sometimes, if they ever give it to him, but they don't have to because, like you said, their lineups they've been so bad this year.
Yep.
But Votto is willing to take a walk though, if he has to.
It gets you points.
It'll get you points. It's not the upside that you may want to.
Right. All right. So moving on to second base. So I think there's no way in the world I can get to Kinsler. I like him a ton leading off against Shields, like we talked about. I think Shields going to get. I don't see any way how Shields doesn't get destroyed in this start again. Detroit's lineup is just too good. But I don't think there's any way you can really roster a lot of those Tigers because they're so expensive. All the way down their lineup. I mean, Babin's overpriced. Kinsler is really expensive. Miggy is probably the best priced guy for his upside. JD Martinez is extremely overpriced against a righty, in my opinion. So definitely expensive plays. I don't think there's any way to get there. I think Profar is too cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
He's leading off. Granted, he's not in Texas anymore, and he hasn't hit lefties all that well this year. But he's 3,100, and he's going to lead off if he plays. The question will be, does he play today? I think he will.
I agree.
Leading off, so that's a really good price for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Who do you not like? Say if he wasn't in the lineup, who would you look to pivot to?
So I like, I think Kipnis is too cheap, hitting second against Volquez. I think Dietrich is a decent play. I think those would be my 2 pivots. If I didn't have Profar, because I think Profar is just way too cheap to not play today. I like Dietrich at 3,600. I like Kipnis at 37. I don't mind Segura at 4.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be owned. He'll be owned. So if you're looking for a guy that has reverse splits against right-handed pitching, against a pitcher with reverse splits this year, I mean, those 2 things typically end in a good result. Segura has like a 148 ISO against righty, so he can put the ball in the ballpark too. So he has some upside, more so than I think Profar and Dietrich do today. Even given their matchups, I think Segura has the most upside out of the second baseman at that price range. I think Kinsler has the most upside, but I can't get there for 53. I think Kipnis, though, Kipnis is way too cheap. 37. If he's under 4K, I'm interested.
Do you think the Cubs are going to pitch to Bryce Harper today? Or are they just going to walk him like they did last time?
I think Joe Maddon's a smart manager, and I don't think there's any reason to pitch to Harper right now. Who else in that lineup can hit? I mean, who else in that lineup scares you that hits behind Harper right now?
Daniel Murphy. That's probably about it.
That's it. And is he hitting? Is he hitting fifth? Is that where Murphy's
Fourth.
projected?
They have him right behind him. They're gonna.
Oh,
I
sorry,
bet.
so they have Murphy. Okay, so
Yeah,
Murphy.
I have a feeling though he'll probably make an interesting GPP play because if they don't pitch to Harper,
He-
he's always gonna have somebody on base, and I mean he's been swinging a pretty hot stick.
And he's under
Pretty
5K.
play. Yeah.
Whenever he's under 5K, it's interesting. He's only 4,500, so it's definitely
so
an
I
interesting.
think he's definitely an interesting GPP.
I don't see him getting pitched to all that much today. I mean,
Yeah.
Murphy, sure, but
Yeah, they'll pitch to Murphy.
I mean, look behind that. Zimmerman, no. Ramos has swung a hot bat. That's fine. Rendon's done okay. I mean, their lineup is starting to hit the ball a little bit better, I would say.
Yeah. Now, I think it's going to be key for their first two guys, Revere and Work, to get on base. Because if they get on base, then they're have to pitch to Bryce Harper.
Yeah, and they haven't.
Because you're not. Yeah.
Base.
And I would agree though that if they're not getting on base, he probably won't pitch to Harper.
I mean, when you look at Washington's WRC plus the last 30, it's 108, which is
they're getting better.
I mean, they're hitting the ball better. But yeah, like you said, Revere isn't getting on base leading off. Worth isn't getting on base really all that much either. His average is below 300 for sure. So it's definitely, it will be interesting because I don't see them pitching all that much to Harper if those first two guys in front of him don't get on base. So yeah. So I think the main play for me, I think, is Profar, just given his price.
Great.
I don't love him just because of facing a lefty, and he doesn't hit lefties all that well this year. But I think given the price will make him very intriguing. And I think I would roster Kipnis probably before I roster Dietrich, given the upside reasoning, and then I think Segura would be the next in line for me.
Yeah, agree.
All right, so third base. So I think there's definitely some interesting plays at third base. Who's your top overall third baseman given price?
Well, that's kind of where I was trying to think. I mean, Todd Frazier's not a bad play, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's my top play. I mean, I like him.
He's expensive today,
but
right?
He's 4,900.
Yeah, that's a lot to me.
I think I'm going to be either looking at is Josh Donaldson at 4,400 versus Eichhoff, or I even like Jake Lamb at 43.
Okay, yeah, I definitely am fine with Donaldson. I think a lot of these Toronto bats are going to be popular given their team total.
Yeah.
Again, Eichhoff's not bad against righties. That's the only thing. It's like, well, he's not bad against righties. He's worse against lefties. But the team total, I mean, Vegas is telling you something when they're giving a team a 5-run total. I mean, they're at home, so that's definitely part of it. The only thing, I was just looking up some BVP here for one guy that I definitely am interested in. Trying to think of what I was doing. Okay, so here's an interesting play for me. Michael Franco.
Yeah, Franco's not bad.
3,300. He's the away team hitting third against a knuckleballer. I was trying to find his BPP against Dickey and Stephen Wright and guys like that, see if there was any. So Stephen Wright, he has not faced, which is not surprising. Dickey, he has faced for 4 plate appearances, 3 at-bats with a hit and a walk. So only 1 hit and 1 walk in 4 plate appearances, but, I mean, when he's only seen a guy 4 times, he will adjust. So I think Franco makes an interesting play. Is he the best cash game play? I don't know if he is. I mean, given his price, I really do like him. Just given he could give you 2 home runs. He really.
Yeah, I wouldn't heavily weigh that BVP though into my decision just because it's so small.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's
whenever I'm considering a guy against a knuckleballer, it's just something I like.
Yeah. I mean, I agree though. I think he's a good cheap play. If you're trying to go cheap, I think he's the best cheap option.
I think I would absolutely take Donaldson over Lamb given the $100 difference.
Yeah.
I think Nunez is too expensive at third.
Yeah.
I think Nunez is in a great spot. He's leading off against Jared Weaver, which I always like. You can play Profar here too. I think that if you're going to play Profar, I would play him in second because I think I would rather. I don't know about you, but if I'm paying down at those positions, I would rather play the combination of Profar and Franco than play a combination of like Kipnis and Profar.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right? Like I think Franco's in a better spot against a knuckleballer than Kipnis would be against Edison Volquez or Dietrich would be against Colin Ray. So I think that would be the cash game combo I'm going to consider. And I think I'm either going to go probably Profar and Franco or go Profar and Donaldson, depending. I think it's definitely possible to fit Donaldson in today for sure, though. All right, so shortstop. What are you looking at shortstop?
Shortstop's kind of interesting. It's
pretty weak.
It's all right, yeah, but it's pretty weak. I mean, a lot of guys are overpriced, I would say.
Sure.
I was looking at probably. I haven't really found a cheap option that I'm like dying to roster.
Only one that I like.
The two guys that I like, but they're not cheap, but they're kind of they're not super expensive. Lindor's at 4-1. I like him, and then down a little bit more, I do like Zach Cozart at 3-6.
Okay, so I was talking like dirt cheap.
I haven't found a dirt cheap.
Okay, so there's one guy, I wouldn't say dirt cheap, but one guy under 3K that I like, and that's Freddie Galvis. Just given where he's hitting, again, the road team facing a knuckleballer, I think 2,800 does he have any upside? Really, no. But can he get you a couple hits, get on base? Yeah. For 2,800, that's all you're really looking for. Shortstop's not overly appealing to me today. I only have four guys. I think Galvis is a solid play given his price. Lindor, again, like we mentioned, I like Lindor a lot. Nunez is overpriced to me. And Brandon Crawford, I think, is intriguing. Just given that he's only 3,400, facing Chase Anderson. But like we talked about, I think Chase Anderson is much worse against righties this year. So I think that rostering Crawford, but Crawford could get you a home run easily. So it's definitely one of those things that for 600 difference, are you going to go with a guy hitting 6 that's the home team? Or are you going to roster Galvis who's hitting second on the road for 600 cheaper? Or are you going to pay all the way up to like someone like Lindor for 41? I think Lindor might be the top play today at shortstop, but I don't know. Again, like you said, we have roughly 3,300 if we're rostering those two top guys today. I don't know if that's the guy I want to get there for.
Yeah,
I think I'd be perfectly okay punting with Galvis.
Yeah, especially because and then if you want to get E5 in, you got 3,100 a bat plus.
Right.
So
definitely, and especially if you're trying to fit Donaldson too.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to get multiple Toronto bats, definitely not an easy task today if you're picking up. All right, so moving on to the final position today, outfield. To me, there wasn't a lot to love today in outfield, which is very, to me, out of the ordinary. There's multiple guys I do like a lot, but
yeah, I
have close to 12 to 15 names written down that I'll just look at and consider more. And today I really only had like 7. So to me, it's weaker just for given maybe lineup positioning, with it being a shorter slate, sure. But there's really only around 7 guys I really do like today.
Yeah, a lot of the guys I do like, too, are just really expensive. J.D. Martinez, like we said, he's in a good spot against Shields. Jay Bruce is in a good spot versus Blair. Mike Trout's in a really good spot. He's just expensive. The Miami outfielders are all in a good spot. Stanton's really cheap. He's only 3,900. And then my favorite outfielder is probably Michael Sanders. He's probably my favorite.
Michael Saunders? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is his price today?
39.
39. Yeah, I could get on board with Saunders. The only thing I would say about Saunders is, so if I'm paying $3,900 for Saunders, why would I not just pay $39 for Batista?
Yeah, I do like Batista tonight.
Granted, yeah, it's the righty on righty versus lefty on righty argument, but to me, I think Bautista might be pretty chalky today. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be, given he's under 4K, he's leading off. They have the highest team total on the slate. I would rather roster Bautista than quite a few of these Toronto bats.
It's going to be a name thing, too, because people are like, oh, Bautista, he's 3,900. That people are going to jump to him, too, just because of his name.
I would not be surprised to see him over 50% today, for sure.
Yeah, people will jump to him just because of his name. If he's even
that's absolutely.
Lineup, which he should.
So there's only one guy over 4K that I even like today, and that's Trout.
Yeah, I like Trout a lot.
I like you said, JD Martinez. I'm fine with it. I didn't even consider a lot of those guys that are that highly
Yeah,
priced because I knew there really wouldn't be a way to get there, and I don't love his matchup for 5K.
yeah. Well, the reason why I get
To
some
the
of these,
point that I want to like hinder my pitching or other positions because there are cheaper guys I'm fine with, like Bautista. He gives you a lot of upside leading off. He's not a leadoff hitter, right? He's not a leadoff hitter. He's a power hitter. So hitting leadoff, even if he gets some singles and gets on base, I mean the guys behind him are going to hit the ball and get him in. I think Trout against Alaska is fine. But again, I don't think I can get to 47, and I don't think there's a need to today in the outfield. I think Herrera is interesting at 38.
yeah,
Again, the away team leading off against a knuckleballer.
he always gets on base too.
For
Always on base.
Yeah, he's on base a ton.
He's always on base.
Could steal a base against Dickey, sure. I think he's a guy that he's a leadoff hitter, yes, but he swings hard all the time.
And he draws walks too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's pesky. I mean, he'll take guys 10, 11, 12 pitches just to get them out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
definitely
pesky
a
hitter to get out.
a ton of pitches and just foul off a ton of pitches.
Yeah, he's pesky to get out.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue is you don't normally want a guy that swings really hard against knuckleballers. That's kind of the known thing is that you want to make contact and let the ball go. And he's definitely a guy that swings hard all the time. So that could be an issue against a knuckleballer. Sure. I don't see that being too much of a problem for him. Like you said, he's a guy that doesn't get out easily, right? He definitely battles. He gets the most out of his at bats. So definitely do like him today. Do I think he's a little expensive? Sure.
Yeah.
The guys around him, like Bautista, is basically the same price. So who else do you like?
Honestly, I, yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, what do you like? I mean, I'm having trouble.
And if you're interested against her for Herrera's BVP against Dickey too, he's faced him 3 times and he's 1 for 2 of the walk. 1 for 2 of the walk. So he's faced him as well. Didn't do poorly. So I think David Peralta is always priced. I mean, just like you said, in Coors Light in Arizona, he's hitting cleanup most likely. So definitely at 4K, he's fine to me. I mean, even Ricky Weeks. I mean, he's projected to be hitting 5th today. I mean, I don't like Ricky Weeks. I think he's he's not a good hitter. He's good against lefties. That's about it. But if he's in the lineup today, hitting 5th for that Arizona lineup at 2,200, that's kind of hard to pass up to me. I don't. Could he give you a 0? Yeah, but could he give you 5 or something because of an RBI single? Yeah, for sure. I think Bolsinger, like we said, kind of has reverse split, so it's not like it's a pitcher that he's facing that's really tough on right-handed hitters. So I don't hate the play. I think Robbie Grossman for sure is in play for me. He's been hitting the ball well. He has a ton of stolen base upside. It's against Jared Weaver. He's only 3,300. Ender Inciarte is a fine play for me. Again, Atlanta, this is probably the highest team total I've seen Atlanta have all year. Is somewhere around 4.5. And I think Ender Inciarte, if he gets on base a couple times, he could steal a base maybe. He's only 3,800. I think there's a lot to like around that 4K price range today. Does he have any upside? Not really. I probably would rather roster Robbie Grossman against Weaver at 33 than Inciarte. But I mean, if for whatever reason you're trying to fit as many Toronto bats as possible, I mean, I could see going maybe Bautista, Grossman, and Ricky Weeks in your outfield and loading up on guys like Donaldson and E5 and other places. So it's definitely something to look at, that if you're trying to fit as many Toronto bats as possible or other expensive bats, Ricky Weeks in the outfield, if he's in the lineup for 2,200, he's basically free.
Yeah, it
In
seems like
the lineup that he could get RBIs.
Seems like in the outfield you'll probably be wanting to stay around that mid-4 to low, to high 3 range.
Mid-3s.
That's where
the high 3s definitely doable today. I think there's a lot of guys in good spots right at 4K or below.
Yeah, I don't think you need to go way down to an outfield unless you want to roster Ricky Weeks.
That would be the only guy I would be saying go and do it if he's hitting 5th today. If he's anywhere beyond 5th, like even 6th maybe, but if he's lower than 6 or not in the lineup, obviously that's not an option. But definitely, he stood out to me as the projected lineup came out with him hitting fifth at 2,200. I mean, this is a guy we've seen him be 4K this year. I mean, he's been so up and down, depending on whether he's facing a lefty or a righty, just because his ISO is very good against lefties. I mean, he still has a 191 ISO against right-handed pitching. That's not bad, given his price. He could give you a very cheap home run against a guy with kind of reverse splits, and it's in Arizona. So I think he's definitely a cheap play. All right, so kind of final thoughts on the slate. So like we talked about last time, we'll kind of do our home run calls for the day. We'll each call two guys that we think are going to hit a home run today. I got 1 out of 2 on Friday. I nailed, who was it, Chris Davis, and then I completely missed on Matt Kemp, who struck out 4 times, and I rostered in cash, and yeah, that didn't go very well. Got me at 0. So, who are your 2 guys that are kind of not blatantly obvious calls? I don't think there really are any blatantly obvious calls today for home runs, but 2 guys you think that could go yard today?
Okay, I'm gonna do it because you're the hater. I'm going with Joey Votto tonight because you're hating on Joey Votto.
I want to see the GPP lineup tonight for you. My God.
And then my other guy, I don't want to go. I'll stay away from Toronto. That way it makes it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, let's stay away from Toronto hitters. I think there's definitely at least 1 to 2 guys in Toronto I think that could go yard easily tonight.
Yeah. Try not to get a first baseman. I'm gonna go with Todd Frazier.
Todd Frazier. Okay.
We'll do something for fun.
Interesting. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of call some off the wall guys that I think definitely have a chance. I don't think there's any second baseman I feel confident in calling. I think I'm going to go ahead and go. I think Maikel Franco goes yard tonight for Philly against Ray Dickey. And I'm just going to say Ricky Weeks. I think Weeks goes yard if he's in the lineup. If he's not in the lineup,
yeah, get another guy just in case.
I'm convinced he's going to be in the lineup. I think if he's not in the lineup, man, it's tough today because there's not
a lot.
I think Maikel Franco, and I'll go ahead and go with Robbie Grossman. I think he could get one out today. I think that's kind of a very off the wall call there because he's not known for hitting home runs for sure. I think if he goes yard and I roster him, I'm gonna freak out. He has 4 on the year though, so definitely possible. I'm gonna go with Robbie Grossman, and I'll go with the Maikel Franco. I think those 2 guys are kind of going to be lower owned guys.
I got one thing tonight, too. Yeah. One more thing. If you like to watch a lot of baseball and you love to watch pitching, you need to watch the Florida and Florida State game tonight. I'm telling you now. The Gators have a pitcher. His name's A.J. Puck. If you didn't watch the draft and you don't know who he is, A.J. Puck is a 6'7" left-handed pitcher, and he can throw a 97-mile-per-hour fastball. If you love pitching, check this guy out. I mean, he's legit. You're gonna probably see him in the MLB within the next 3 to 4 years. I mean, he's a legit pitcher.
He's drafted by the A's.
Yeah, 6th overall by the A's. So if you like pitching, check him out because
he was the expected number 1 pick and fell. So
yeah, you'll be seeing him in the MLB probably within 4 to 5 years.
For sure, I agree. All right, so great show today. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you for all the feedback on the previous video. Got up to a lot more views than we expected for our first video. So again, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, comment with any questions. This one's going up a little bit earlier than our last one, so hopefully there will be more views on this for today's slate. Final thoughts. There will be no video tomorrow on Tuesday, the 14th. There will be no podcast. Neither of us will probably be playing tomorrow. So we will be back on Wednesday with another video. It should be another video earlier in the day. So expect that. So thank you very much for watching if you got all the way to this point. This has been Expo or Michael and Corey, and we're out. See you guys.